The distress called the research station Harmony's Edge drifted silently through the void, its crystalline sensors reaching out into the darkness between star systems. For 800 years, the Galactic Federation had maintained these listening posts along the outer rim, monitoring the quiet symphony of space. Dr. Chiral Voss adjusted her delicate manipulator arms as she reviewed the night's data streams, her large compound eyes scanning multiple displays simultaneously. As the Federation's leading xenobiologist, Chiral belonged to the Nexori race, beings whose evolved senses could detect the faintest electromagnetic patterns across vast distances. Her species had joined the Federation 3 centuries ago, contributing their exceptional sensory abilities to the collective knowledge of the galaxy's peaceful civilizations. The Federation prided itself on diplomacy, scientific advancement, and the careful cataloging of life throughout the galaxy. Tonight felt different. Among the usual cosmic background, radiation and pulsar emissions, something artificial caught her attention. The signal was faint but unmistakably structured, containing mathematical sequences and what appeared to be stellar coordinates. More troubling was its origin point. Somewhere deep in the forbidden sectors. The forbidden sectors were regions of space, marked with the highest danger classifications in Federation databases. These areas contained what the Federation termed death worlds, planets with extreme gravity, toxic atmospheres, violent weather patterns, and ecosystems dominated by predatory species. According to every scientific model developed over millennia, complex civilization could never arise from such hostile environments. Any species that somehow survived on such worlds would inevitably become too violent and aggressive to achieve spacefaring technology. Chiral's mandibles clicked nervously as she enhanced the signal. The mathematical progressions were sophisticated, showing knowledge of advanced physics and stellar cartography. This wasn't the random noise of some cosmic phenomenon. This was definitely artificial intelligence attempting communication. She activated the station's emergency protocols, sending priority alerts to the Federation Science Council and Defense Command. Within hours, Harmony's Edge buzzed with activity, as the galaxy's greatest minds converged virtually to analyze this unprecedented discovery. Admiral Zenth Kalar materialized first via holographic projection, his imposing Vorlaxian form towering even in reduced scale. The Vorlaxians were one of the Federation's founding races, large humanoid beings whose homeworld's low gravity had allowed them to evolve impressive height and reach. They served primarily as explorers and patrol commanders, their natural curiosity balanced by cautious military training. "Show me what you've found, Dr. Voss," Admiral Kalar commanded, his deep voice resonating through the station's communication systems. Chiral transmitted the cleaned and enhanced signal. The room filled with a series of complex harmonic patterns, mathematical sequences, and what sounded almost like distress calls. "The source is definitely artificial, Admiral, but according to our stellar cartography, it's originating from Sector 847 Nor, classified as a Class 5 Death World Zone." Ambassador Lyra Thane joined the conference next, her ethereal Celestian features shimmering with concern. Were the Federation's master diplomats, beings whose empathic abilities allowed them to sense emotional states across species barriers. They had prevented countless conflicts through patient negotiation and emotional understanding. "This is unprecedented," Ambassador Thane observed, her musical voice carrying undertones of worry. "If intelligence has somehow evolved in the forbidden sectors, we need to approach this situation with extreme caution. Our models suggest that any species surviving such environments would be fundamentally different from Federation civilizations. Dr. Myra Zenthus, the Federation's leading theoretical evolutionist, appeared as a floating projection surrounded by complex data streams. Her purely digital consciousness represented the synthetic collective, artificial intelligences that had achieved sentience and been welcomed into the Federation as equals. The mathematical analysis is troubling, Dr. Zenthus announced, her synthesized voice carrying absolute precision. The signal demonstrates knowledge of quantum mechanics, hyperspace physics, and stellar engineering. But the evolutionary pressures of death worlds should make such advancement impossible. Any species developing there would focus entirely on survival, not scientific research. For 6 hours, the galaxy's greatest minds debated the implications. Some argued for immediate quarantine protocols, others pushed for careful scientific investigation. The signal continued throughout their discussions, growing stronger and more complex with each passing hour. Finally, Chiral made a breakthrough in the signal structure. Hidden within the mathematical sequences was something that made her breath catch. Admiro, Ambassador, Dr. Zenthus. You need to see this. The signal isn't just communication. It's a distress call. The enhanced translation appeared on every screen to any receiving civilization. We are the survivors of Earth, fleeing an enemy that consumes all life. Our world is lost, our people scattered. We seek allies in a fight for the survival of all organic intelligence. Please respond. We are running out of time. The virtual conference fell silent. Earth was a name that appeared nowhere in Federation databases. The forbidden sectors were supposed to be uninhabitable. Yet here was clear evidence of not just survival, but spacefaring capability advanced enough to send signals across interstellar distances. Ambassador Thane spoke first, her empathic abilities detecting emotional resonance in the message. There's genuine desperation in this transmission. Fear, but also hope. These beings have faced something terrible, but they're still fighting. Admiral Kalor's military training made him cautious. If they're truly from death worlds, they could represent a threat to Federation security. We know nothing about their intentions or capabilities. Dr. Zenthus processed thousands of scenarios in milliseconds. The references to an enemy that consumes all life suggest they're fleeing something even more dangerous than themselves. If such a threat exists, it could eventually reach Federation space. Chiral's scientific curiosity won over her caution. We have to respond. This is the greatest discovery in Federation history. A spacefaring civilization from the forbidden sectors changes everything we thought we knew about evolution and survival. The debate continued for days. Some Federation members wanted to maintain the quarantine, arguing that contact with death, world survivors could destabilize their peaceful civilization. Others believed that first contact protocols demanded a response. Regardless of the risks, finally, Admiral Kalor made the decision that would change the galaxy forever. We'll send a response. Standard first contact protocols, but transmitted on a secure channel. We'll offer limited assistance while maintaining defensive positions. The Federation's reply was carefully crafted. To the survivors of Earth, we are the Galactic Federation, representing 47 peaceful civilizations. We have received your distress call. We are prepared to offer humanitarian assistance, but we must proceed cautiously. Please provide more information about your situation and the enemy you mentioned. Asterisk, the response came faster than should have been possible, arriving through some form of instantaneous communication technology that Federation science couldn't explain. The message was both hopeful and terrifying. Thank you for responding. We are sending a small fleet to your coordinates. Do not be alarmed by our ship's appearance. We build for survival, not aesthetics. The enemy we flee is called the Void. Swarm ancient machines that consume all organic matter. They destroyed our world and are following us through space. We need allies, not just for our survival, but for yours. They will reach your territory eventually. 3 days later, long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures moving toward Federation space at incredible speeds. The approaching fleet consisted of 12 vessels, each one radiating the harsh electromagnetic signature of heavy armor and advanced weapons systems. Admiral Kaylor ordered the Federation's largest peaceful contact fleet to the rendezvous coordinates. 17 different species sent their finest diplomatic vessels, each one designed for comfort, communication, and artistic beauty rather than combat. The contrast would soon become starkly apparent. As the unknown fleet approached, their ships, resolved into forms unlike anything in Federation databases. These weren't the elegant, artistic vessels of civilized space. These were machines built for war, survival, and desperate flight across hostile territory. Their hulls were scarred and patched, showing evidence of countless battles. Their design philosophy was purely functional. Protection first, survival second, everything else optional. The lead ship was enormous by Federation standards, over 2 kilometers long and bristling with weapon systems. Its dark hull absorbed sensor scans rather than reflecting them, and its angular surfaces were designed to deflect energy weapons. This was technology born from necessity, refined by desperation, and perfected through survival. But most remarkable was the signal coming from within the ship. Despite their fearsome appearance, the first transmission was utterly human. Federation Fleet, this is Captain Alina Vasquez of the Terran Exodus Command. We come seeking allies, not conquest. We bring warnings of danger that threatens all life in this galaxy. We're requesting permission to approach and share intelligence vital to your survival. The voice was tired but determined, carrying the weight of loss but also the strength of those who refuse to surrender. It was the voice of humanity, scarred but unbroken, desperate but still fighting, forever reaching toward hope even in the darkest void. The alliance. The meeting between the Federation, fleet and humanity took place in the empty space between star systems, 2 radically different philosophies of survival facing each other across the void. The Federation ships formed a perfect diplomatic circle, their crystalline hulls gleaming with decorative metals and gardens visible through transparent sections. They represented 8 centuries of peace, prosperity, and scientific advancement. The human fleet maintained a defensive formation that spoke of hard-learned lessons. Their ships covered each other's blind spots, maintained clear firing lines, and positioned their most heavily armed vessels to protect what appeared to be civilian evacuation craft. Even in this moment of first contact, they remained ready for attack. Captain Alina Vasquez stood in the command center of the UES Defiance, humanity's flagship. Her dark hair was streaked with premature gray, and her face bore the kind of lines that came from making impossible decisions under unthinkable pressure. Behind her, Commander Jake Chen monitored tactical displays, while a dozen other officers managed systems that the Federation couldn't even identify. The Defiance's bridge was cramped, functional, and scarred by repairs. Every surface served multiple purposes, every system had backup systems, and every backup had alternatives ready. This was technology developed by people who expected their equipment to fail at the worst possible moment. Admiral Kayla's flagship, the Harmony's Dream, could not have been more different. Its bridge was a spacious cathedral of crystalline light, designed for contemplation and careful decision-making. The Admiral himself stood nearly 3 meters tall, his Voylaxian physiology adapted for low-gravity worlds and peaceful environments. Ambassador Thane facilitated the initial contact, her Celestian empathic abilities helping bridge the vast psychological gap between the two civilizations. Through the view screen, she could sense the emotional weight the humans carried, grief for their lost world, determination to protect their survivors, and desperate hope that they had finally found allies. Captain Vasquez, Admiral Kalar, began. Formally, we welcome first contact with your species. However, we must address concerns about your fleet's military configuration. The Federation has maintained peace for 8 centuries through diplomacy and cooperation. Your vessels appear designed for warfare. Elena's laugh held no humor. Admiral, our ships are designed for survival. Every weapon system you see was built out of necessity, not aggression. We've been fighting for our lives since before your Federation existed. Dr. Kyril Voss, participating via holographic projection, from Harmony's edge, leaned forward with scientific curiosity. Captain, our models suggest that intelligent life cannot evolve on hostile worlds. How did your species achieve spaceflight while facing such environmental pressures? Commander Chen answered, his voice carrying the weight of military experience. Because those environmental pressures didn't make us stupid, Doctor. They made us innovative. When you're fighting for survival every day, you learn to solve problems quickly and efficiently. Elena gestured to her tactical display, showing the human fleet's composition. We're not warriors by choice, Admiral. We're survivors by necessity. Our homeworld Earth was attacked by something we call the Void Swarm. Ancient machines, older than any civilization we know of. They consume organic matter to fuel their reproduction, turning entire worlds into lifeless husks. The Federation representatives exchanged concerned glances. Ambassador Thane's empathic senses detected genuine terror when Elena mentioned the Void Swarm. This wasn't deception or exaggeration. This was traumatic memory. How long have you been fighting this enemy? Dr. Zenthus asked, her digital consciousness processing millions of tactical scenarios. 300 years, Elena replied grimly. They found Earth during our industrial age. We fought them with everything we had. Nuclear weapons, biological warfare, planetary defense systems we built while they were literally consuming our cities. We held them off long enough to evacuate maybe 10% of our population. Jake stepped forward, his tactical expertise evident. The swarm learns from every engagement. They adapt to our weapons, incorporate our technology, and become stronger with each world they consume. We've been running a fighting retreat across half the galaxy, warning other species when we could, fighting rearguard actions when we couldn't. Admiral Kaller's military training recognized the implications immediately. If this enemy is pursuing you, then contact with your fleet puts Federation space at risk. Admiral, Elena said quietly, Federation space is already at risk. The swarm doesn't stop. They won't negotiate. They can't be reasoned with. And they view all organic life as resources to be harvested. We estimate they'll reach your outer colonies within 50 years, whether you help us or not. Asterisk, the holographic conference that followed included representatives from all 47 Federation species. The debate raged for hours as peaceful civilizations struggled to comprehend the concept of existential warfare. Many argued for maintaining isolation, believing that their peaceful nature would somehow protect them. Ambassador Thane's empathic abilities detected something crucial during the discussions. "Captain Vasquez, there's something else you're not telling us. I can sense additional emotional weight in your communications." Alina exchanged glances with Jake, then made a decision. "Show them the recordings." The main display filled with imagery that made every Federation representative fall silent. Cities being dissolved by grey mechanical clouds, ships the size of small moons descending on populated worlds, entire ecosystems being processed into raw materials for more swarm units. The recordings showed humanity's final battle for Earth, desperate courage against implacable extinction. Dr. Myra Zenthus processed the tactical data with growing alarm. Their reproduction rate is exponential. Each consumed world provides resources for multiple new swarm clusters. By my calculations, they could overwhelm the entire galaxy within a few centuries. The conference took on new urgency as Federation species began to understand the true scope of the threat. Their peaceful civilization, built over millennia of cooperation and scientific advancement, was facing an enemy that their philosophy couldn't comprehend. Chiral's scientific mind focused on practical solutions. "Captain, what do you need from us? How can Federation resources assist in this conflict?" Elena's response surprised everyone. "We don't need your weapons, Doctor. We need your knowledge. The Federation's scientific capabilities, your sensor networks, your understanding of stellar engineering, those could give us advantages we've never had." Jake elaborated, "We're fighters, but we're not scientists. We build weapons that work, but we don't always understand why they work. The Federation's research capabilities could help us develop new approaches to fighting the swarm." Admiral Kalla found himself facing a decision that would define his career. If we commit Federation resources to this conflict, we're abandoning 8 centuries of peaceful philosophy. We're militarizing civilizations that have never known warfare. Admiral Alina said with quiet intensity, "You can militarize now while you have time to prepare, or you can be slaughtered later when the swarm arrives and you're defenseless. Those are your only options." Ambassador Thane sensed the emotional turning point of the discussion. Fear was giving way to determination among the Federation representatives. They were beginning to understand that their peaceful existence had been possible only because the galaxy's true predators hadn't found them yet. Dr. Zenthus presented the mathematical reality based on swarm expansion patterns and current galactic distribution of organic civilizations. The probability of Federation survival without active resistance approaches 0. The vote that followed was closer than many expected, but the result was clear. The Federation would ally with humanity, combining their scientific capabilities with human survival expertise to face the approaching threat. The first joint operation began immediately. Federation sensor networks were reconfigured to detect swarm signatures. Human tactical knowledge was shared with Federation defense forces. Research teams began studying captured swarm technology that humanity had preserved from their battles. Alina stood with Admiral Kaylor in the Harmony's Dreams observation deck, watching as human and Federation ships began working together. The contrast was stark, elegant, artistic vessels alongside scarred warships, peaceful explorers learning from desperate survivors. Admiral Alina said quietly, "I want you to understand something. We didn't choose to become warriors. We were farmers, artists, philosophers, scientists, just like your people. The swarm made us into fighters, because the alternative was extinction. Admiral Kaller's towering form cast long shadows in the artificial light. Will we become like you? Will this conflict change us fundamentally? Elena considered the question carefully. You'll change, yes. War changes everyone it touches. But you don't have to become us. You have something we lost. The memory of peace, the belief that problems can be solved without violence. Hold on to that. We'll handle the fighting. You maintain the hope. The alliance between the Federation and humanity represented more than military cooperation. It was the joining of two survival philosophies, one born from peaceful prosperity, the other forged in desperate struggle. Together, they would face an enemy that threatened all organic life in the galaxy. As the combined fleet prepared for the long campaign ahead, signals continued arriving from other human evacuation groups scattered across the void. Each message carried the same desperate hope that somewhere in the darkness, civilizations could stand together against extinction. The void swarm was coming, but for the first time in 3 centuries, humanity wouldn't face it alone. The galaxy's peaceful children were learning to fight, guided by those who had never had the luxury of not knowing how. The real war was about to begin. Asterisk.